You will never guess what doctors say they found inside of RFK Jr.'s brain. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about RFK Jr. saying that doctors found something crazy inside of his brain that may have caused brain damage. Now, I don't know if it's extensive brain damage or moderate brain damage, but by the way he described what they found in his brain, I think that it's pretty serious, and it may be cause for concern if you want to vote for this man in the 2024 presidential election. Before we get into what they found and what it may have done to him, including his voice being kind of weird, let's back up. Now, of course, this is Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. of the Kennedy political tribe, political royalty, if you will, JFK's people. He is running for president right now. He is not dropped out yet. And if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But he's running for president right now as a Democrat against Joe Biden. A lot of Democrats hate him because they want Joe Biden to be the incumbent, although he's 1,000 years old and he has some issues. Now we have RFK with some issues, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So his family doesn't really like him too much. A lot of the Democrats don't like him too much. Some on the right like him. He's more of a true independent, although he is running as a Democrat. Now, his campaign, or RFK himself, has revealed that there was a parasite in his brain and the parasite died. To be specific, they say it was a worm and it died. Can we just, let's shoot to this article right quick, okay? This is on New York Times, okay? And I'm going to just zoom in on this piece right here. It says, RFK Jr. says doctors found a dead worm in his brain. And a subhead, presidential candidate has faced previously undisclosed health issues, including a parasite that he said ate a part of his brain. Now, before we get to this article, I want to kind of back up and go to this from MS13DNC and have them report on it. Then we're going to get back to the article and read some of the details, but I'm going to link to everything in the box. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Gang. Yes, there's a New York Times story. This is real that just posted under Suzanne Craig's byline. We know her well. They're operating off of a deposition given by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. some years ago, relaying how that in 2010, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. experienced memory loss and mental fogginess so severe that people thought he might be sick. He went in for scans. They found a dark spot on the brain, and the belief is, Mr. Kennedy says anyway, that there's a dead parasite in his brain. Meaning, I quote from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. here, the abnormality, quote, was caused by a worm that got into my brain and ate a portion of it and then died. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is suggesting that a worm ate some of his brain and then died while there. We'll have more on this developing story.
What in the world?
This happens. Usually, Willie, this happens with livestock, right? But this is something that yeah.
I mean,
you know what? There you go. He should have had some of that stuff. That may have helped him, right, Willie?
So now they're making a joke, and they're talking about some of that stuff. They're talking about ivermectin, okay? Because remember the whole horse paste thing, and they're trying to revitalize that. So these are your compassionate Democrats, okay? Those that all about human rights and health and everything else, making a joke about this guy potentially having brain damage because of a parasite. Funny how that works, but let's continue.
Was ivermectin?
The ivermectin.
See what I'm saying? Now, that's them. Of course, they're going to have that particular take on it. These people look artificial. Mika, all these people, I mean, how much surgery have they had? And it's crazy when you have surgery to do minor things, but it's still obvious. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to this. And then we're going to get to another video in which he was speaking about having some brain issues before the whole parasite thing was revealed, because remember, his voice is trembly. That's not really the way it's supposed to be. He used to have a very strong and powerful voice, but maybe the parasite messed his voice up too. We'll talk about that in a minute, but check it out. So you see what it says, 2010, he was experiencing memory loss and mental fogginess so severe that a friend grew concerned he might have a brain tumor. Mr. Kennedy said he consulted several other countries' top neurologists, many of whom had either treated or spoken to his uncle, Senator Edward M. Kennedy before his death the previous year of brain cancer. Several doctors noticed a dark spot on the younger Mr. Kennedy's brain scans and concluded that he had a tumor. He said in a 2012 deposition reviewed by the New York Times, Mr. Kennedy was immediately scheduled for a procedure at Duke University Medical Center by the same surgeon who had operated on his uncle. While packing for the trip, he said he received a call from a doctor at New York Presbyterian Hospital who had a different opinion. Mr. Kennedy, he believed, had a dead parasite in his head. The doctor believed that the abnormality seen on his scans was caused by a worm that got into my brain and ate a portion of it and then died. Now, an independent presidential candidate. Is he independent? I thought he was running as a Democrat. Maybe he changed it. But anyway, the 70-year-old Mr. Kennedy has portrayed his athleticism and relative youth as an advantage over the two oldest people ever to seek the White House, Biden and Trump. Biden is 81 years old. That's crazy. And Trump, 77. Mr. Kennedy has secured a place on the ballots in Utah, et cetera, et cetera. So then he's like, yeah, I'm active. I'm doing my thing, blah, 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 blah. Now it says for decades, Mr. Kennedy suffered from atrial fibrillation, a common heartbeat abnormality that increases the risk of stroke or heart failure. He has been hospitalized at least 4 times for episodes, including in an interview with the Times this winter. He said he had not had an incident in more than a decade and believed the condition had disappeared. About the same time learning the parasite, he said he was also diagnosed with mercury poisoning, most likely from ingesting too much fish containing a dangerous heavy metal, which can cause serious neurological issues. I have cognitive problems, clearly, he said in 22 deposition. I have short-term memory loss, and I have longer-term memory loss that affects me. Now, of course, I will link to this article, the full thing from New York Times, in the description so you can read that. But obviously, if you had health issues back in 2010, 2012, maybe even before that with your brain, that might be kind of important for people to know if they want to vote for you. All right. Now, let's keep on moving here. This is a town hall from last year. This is June 28th, 23. Now, here he's talking about brain issues that affected his voice. And again, this is before the whole worm kerfuffle was revealed to the masses. Check it out.
Let's get this part out of the way. Your voice is raspy. Why don't you explain to our audience why?
I had a very, very strong voice till I was 46 years old. It was unusually strong. And I was, even at that time, I was making a lot of my income doing public speaking, and I could speak to large halls without any amplification. And then in 1996, when I was 42 years old, I got struck with a disease, a neurological disease, an injury called spasmodic dystonia, and it makes my voice tremble. And I actually, at the time, I didn't know what was wrong with it, but when I would go on TV, people would write me letters and say, you have spasmodic dystonia, and you should see Dr. Blitzer, who is the physician who was most famous for treating it. And I ultimately went to see him, and he confirmed that I had the diagnosis. So it makes it, I think it makes it problematical for people to listen to me. I cannot listen to myself on TV. I will never listen to this broadcast, and I won't listen to any. So I feel sorry for you guys having to listen to me.
All right.
But I'll say one other thing, that my throat was much worse, and I went to Japan with Cheryl about 6 months ago and had a novel surgery that they only do in Kyoto, and it made my voice much better, which you probably won't believe, but it was much worse than this before. So.
Thank you for watching.
So that's that. So you had an issue before, a brain issue before, neurological, and then that caused your voice to be messed up. Now you're saying, okay, well, I had a brain, a parasite. The parasite died. That caused me to have memory loss, short-term and long-term. You got a lot of medical issues. All right, it's a whole lot going on. Mercury poisoning. There's a lot happening with RFK. Now, as I close, I want to say this. I hope that he's able to be healthy and be well. I don't wish anything negative on him. I'm not necessarily anti-RFK. I would not vote for him, of course, but I'm not a hater. I'm not anything like that. But obviously, there's some issues going on. And I don't think I've heard about somebody running for president who had a dead parasite in their brain. So if you want to vote for the guy, you might want to think about that. The same thing with Joe Biden being 81 years old, who looks and sounds every bit of 81 years old. Trump is also old, but he appears to be in pretty good health. I've not heard about Trump having any kind of parasites in his brain or falling down on stage, doing the toddler stance when they, filling the diaper up. I've not seen that from Trump. So, I mean, there's some choices out there, and you can see what each person has going on. So make the best decision for you. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what's happening here with RFK Jr. with the parasite in his brain? Were you considering voting for him? And if you were, has your opinion changed since this video? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. There's definitely something that's problematic. If I was going to be an RFK voter, which I'm not, but if I was, I would look at that and be like, well, you know what? Maybe you got a parasite in your head. You're talking about memory loss, and you have other issues that have happened before, not just this one, but you've been to a lot of doctors and you've been all over the world to get medical treatment. Maybe you're not necessarily in the best health to be the president. I mean, you look good. You're on hormone therapy. You're talking about you don't want vaccines, but how many medications and treatments have you taken? I mean, what's going on? The anti-vaccine thing I'm with, but at the same time, you got other things going on that require a bunch of medical attention. So how many medications and treatments and whatnot have you gotten? Also, if we're just now learning about this, although it happened as late as 2012, we're talking about 12 years later, over a decade. Why are we just finding out about this? Is there anything else you have not revealed to us, Mr. RFK? I'm just asking, but whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.